a real encounter. The people that he's talking to have not experienced Jesus Christ. They don't know Jesus Christ. So he has to tell them, this is what's happened to me. So he's recounting step by step, and he's showing all the details. That encounter on the Damascus Road was so traumatic that the details were burned into his mind and his heart. And we've all had, as said before, those times that you'll never forget. There's some things that have happened in my life I will never, ever, ever forget. And I know the hand of the Lord was with me all through that. Look at this next part, 22:14 through 16. Someone read, please. Again, just a flashback. He's just giving his testimony. Just like we come to Ebenezer, and, for our 11 o'clock service, people give their testimony. He's recounting his testimony line upon line. He's getting to a point. That's where we're going, because through his testimony, he's hoping that maybe the people that are listening will be touched and God will move on their heart. Look at that commentary. Several points of interest and importance should be noted in these verses. First, Ananias stated that it was the God of our fathers who had ordered the events on the Damascus Road. If the Jews were to oppose and resist what had happened, they were really fighting against God. This testimony is very important in that. He's saying, this really happened. If you resist this, you're not fighting against me, you're fighting against God. Look at second. Ananias told Paul that he would be a witness for the Lord to all men. This should have prepared the Jewish crowd for Paul's announcement that he had been sent to the Gentiles. Now this is key and critical. The Jews were a very close-knit people. The Gentiles were considered heathen, and they did not want to connect with them. They didn't want to do anything with the heathen. And so Paul the Apostle is going to say, I've been called to carry Christ to the Gentiles. This is going to be an issue. Paul the Apostle, his heart has been open and softened, but those that are listening, they haven't been softened at that point. Look at that last part. Finally, Paul was told to arise and be baptized and wash away his sin. So this is true conversion. And I ask you, what is God calling you to do that takes you out of your comfort zone? All right? A lot of times we do the same old, but when we get saved, God is saying, there's a new path. There's a new wall. And sometimes that's going to divide you from family, friends, people you used to hang out with. Notice here at this point, Paul the Apostle was a Jew, is a Jew. He is connected to the Pharisees and Sadducees, but because of salvation, he doesn't hang out with them anymore. It's a different walk, and this is going to be a troubling issue. Acts 22:17, someone read.
Now it happened when I returned to Jerusalem and was praying in the temple that I was in a trance.
All right, go ahead and read that commentary.
Now, for the first time, we learn of an experience Paul had toward the close of his first visit to Jerusalem after conversion.
All right, now we get details that when we went through this some chapters before, and we actually dealt with the conversion of Paul the Apostle, that we don't. As he's recounting his testimony, he gives us more intricacies of how the Lord dealt with him. Go ahead and read that 22:18, please.
And saw him saying to me, make haste and get out of Jerusalem quickly, for they will not receive your testimony concerning me.
Isn't it interesting, as he's given this testimony, it's kind of a dual thing that's going on. I already know where we're going. The Pharisees and the Sadducees, they're not going to receive his testimony. Everybody is not going to receive your change. We would like for them to embrace that we're Christians and we love the Lord and we want them to follow along with us, but everybody's not going to see it that way. You can be as gentle as you want. You can be kind to them. You can think, you know what, because I bought them a burger, they're going to love the Lord like I love the Lord. They'll eat your burger and cuss at you at the same time. It's just not like that. So you got to understand, just because you have a wonderful testimony what the Lord has done, everybody's not going to be inspired by that. And that's okay. Your job is not to save anybody. Please know, only the Lord saves people. All you have to do is share, live the life, and God does the work. But sometimes it can be disheartening. Because I know Bianca and I, we've walked with some people from a long way, and we're like, oh, really, they're gonna love the Lord. Didn't work. They took our money and our food and went back to the devil. So this whole process here, Paul the Apostle makes this thought pattern, hey, some people aren't going to receive that testimony. I think he's working to the point that we want to get to. 22:19, someone read.
I said, Lord, they know that in every synagogue I imprison and beat those who believe on you.
He actually goes back now, giving that part of the testimony of his life that he was ashamed of. I was the guy who didn't believe, just like you, who actually beat up those who believed. And now I've been changed. And I think we can never forget where God has brought us from. That person that we used to be. We don't want to be that anymore, but we used to be that person. He said, I was that one, and everyone knew in every synagogue I imprisoned, beat those who believed on you. You was who? Jesus Christ. Capitalize that while you. Acts 22:20, someone read. Testimony. We go back. Remember way back then when Stephen, when he was stoned, Paul the Apostle was actually holding the clothes. This lets us know we actually hear firsthand Paul remembered that. He remembered that experience, and it wasn't by chance that he was there. And God has put us in some places with people. There have been some people that in accidents, and you survived, and your best friend didn't survive. And that's in your mind forever. And you realize God's hand was there, and it was just God's grace that you're sitting here at this point. Paul the Apostle says, I was there when Stephen, who was a Christian who loved the Lord, I held the clothes of the people who murdered him. When they were throwing the stones, I had their stuff, and I was rooting them on because I was ignorant. I didn't know what was going on. Remember, this whole testimony is to try to get across to those Pharisees, the Sanhedrin that's listening to him. Someone read that next verse, please. Again, we hear that again. I'm going to send you. His calling was not to the Jews, but to the Gentiles or the heathens. The people are listening to him at this point. Go ahead and read that commentary, please. Isn't it amazing some of the people that maybe you grew up with, that you hung out with, when you became a Christian, all of a sudden they turned against you? You know, it wasn't that you turned against them. You really wanted them to be saved too. It was they turned against you. I can't deal with what you're doing, that whole mindset. And Paul the Apostle realized there is a separating point between him and the Jews, which are very religious, but they haven't accepted Jesus Christ. So here comes the point. Paul is essence, all this testimony, I've been changed. I used to be just like you, but Jesus came in my life, and he's challenging them to this point, you can be changed too. But he's added, I've been changed so much that I just don't preach to the Jews, but I preach to the Gentiles, to the heathen folks. Now they're thinking at this point, man, this is just too much. Okay, we know you've been changed, but to talk to the Gentiles? Why would you do that? Look at this next verse, 22 and 22, someone read. What just happened? They turned, well, they ain't liking a whole bunch anyway. But they really turned at this point. They really turned at this point. Up to this point, the Jews have been listening to Paul quiet. Great testimony. You know, hallelujah. Amen. But they kept hearing that Gentile part. And then it says, but his mention of going to the Gentiles with the gospel, the good news, aroused insane jealousy and what? What do you think this was? Do you think this was just them? What's going on here? What drove them to this point? Not hard.
Share God with them, with the Gentiles, and then actually admit that he did it, and that he's going to continue to do it. He's adamant about sharing it with the lost.
That's the truth. What causes a religious person to cuss? The devil. Y'all know what you're talking about. Yeah. Really? Well, how do you go from clapping your hands, singing a song, to like cursing somebody out in the same day? I mean, just losing it. You like, I'll surrender all, you hands all up, and then you about to fight and show up on news too within 24 hours. It's something bigger than you, the enemy. These people are quietly listening, and then the mention of the Gentiles, all of a sudden, something evil is aroused on the inside. Intense hatred comes out, and they lose it. We have to be careful with anger. Right? You know, of course, I'm teaching this from both sides. Paul the Apostle, he is saved, he's dealing with that. But those who don't put a cap on their anger can get them, they can be used mightily, if I can say, by the enemy. And some of us have that testimony. You found yourself in some places you just didn't want to go. When that anger began to, and sometimes some of the softest people can be the anger. Like Mother Ruth. I don't know about her. She's just really soft and quiet and everything. I don't know. I ain't lived with her anything. Like, I can see her. Deacon Rudd getting on her last nerve. That's why he sits so quiet sometimes. You just never know. It can be the softest, quietest people. But when that anger starts rising up, the enemy can step in. So we see these people here, they're upset. Deacon Kelly, your agenda.
Truth mixed with lies mess you up sometimes. And the Pharisees were good at that. You know, the law of Moses, going back, they weren't supposed to have anything to do with those Gentiles anyway. Matter of fact, a lot of times God said kill them all in there. And they playing on that. And the Pharisees have been playing on that all the time. And many of the people that don't want to change. And Paul started talking about taking the gospel. You know, they kind of like what you say, but they ain't got nothing to do with Abraham and Moses.
They literally want him dead. Does that remind you of Paul the Apostle? He was the same way. Deacon Lynn.
Yeah, he walked his teeth together. We have to watch he believed Satan's that they're going to change. He's still not believing. That's what we need to curse on all that. You can be silent and good running. All of a sudden, you know, you get this thing off and it's too late. You start cursing, kind of like Peter did.
It's amazing when we think we know something and we stand on that and we're willing to fight for it. We got the Pharisees, Sadducees, Paul the Apostle know he's been changed, but they can't agree, and the enemy slides in. Now look at this. It elevates. This is, you wouldn't expect this from church folks, right? Look at this next verse. Someone read.
Then as they cried out, cloth their clothes, and threw dust in the air.
All right, Acts 22:23. Just want to stop here at that point. These are religious folks, and I'll say that a lot tonight. I mean, these are prim, proper. Most of the Pharisees, they were required to memorize the first books of the Bible. So we've got Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. So those 5 books, they would actually memorize those in their mind. But these same people that were so religious could go crazy. And I've experienced that. Religion will kill you without Jesus. You got to be saved. Because some of you know some really religious people. You don't want to get on their wrong side. Amen. Really, this whole process, look at where it drives them. They cried out. Right? They are upset. When you get a person so upset that they begin to cry out, watch out. They cried out, and what else did they do? Now, of course, this was one of the traditions of the time, but they are really into this. You can see them ripping their robes, taking dirt, and throwing it up. Now, if you saw somebody like this, you don't want to mess with them. You want to go the opposite direction. All right? We have a gentleman who walks through our neighborhood, and he has conversations with people that aren't there. All right? And sometimes as he's having those conversations, he's talking, He was talking to church today. He said, I'm going to tell Reverend Black, but Reverend Black wasn't there. But he'll go from Reverend Black, he'll start cursing. He'll just go to this other person. He'll stop in the road, and he'll be talking. And I'm looking, and there's nobody there. But one thing I realized, I don't want to get involved in that conversation, all right? That's him. That's him. He's doing his thing, especially when he gets in the curse. He's cursing to himself, back and forth. They're going back, and then once he finished the argument with himself, he'll move on. And this whole process, when you see these people here in the scriptures, they have totally lost it, and Paul the Apostle is standing there listening to them. They went from quiet to literally losing everything, and it's not finished.
You speak about that, you know, I remember back when we were in 62, we were in the street for a while. And this young, College Brew at that time, was street named King Street. But this man, nobody bothered him. He just walking down the street, and he was curving, and he was bad, and so he, I mean, he just talking to himself. And nobody bothered him, but I found out later that wasn't the only time he did that. So I guess, the devil can just get you used it, you made it.
Amen. And we see it here in the scripture. Someone read that 23rd verse, or the 24th verse.
The commander ordered him to be brought into prayer and said that he should be examined under scripture so that he might know why they shouted so against him.
What's going on?
They really,
All right. These people have lost it so bad, ripping their clothes, throwing up dirt. They're like, Paul must be a bad guy. So the commander, the one that's in charge here, the policeman's like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to bring him in, and we're going to scourge him, or we're going to beat him. We're going to beat Paul so we can get the truth. All right, Paul hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything, but now the enemy has come in, taken over the mindsets, and we find Paul the Apostle at the verge of being beaten bad to tell the truth, which he's already told the truth. In the wrong place at the wrong time. However you look at this, Paul is in a bad situation. Let's look at how this is going to turn out. 25, someone read.
And as they bound him with bonds, Paul said to the centurion who stood by, is it lawful for you to scourge a man who is a Roman and uncondemned?
All right. I really want us to kind of slow down at this point and think about it. We've really examined Paul the Apostle. We've had our ups and our downs. I really want you to decide, is he in the will of God? Remember, we got to Jerusalem. Everybody else told him not to go to Jerusalem. If you get to Jerusalem, there's going to be problems. Paul said, God sent him to Jerusalem. He goes to Jerusalem, guess what? Problems. Problem after problem after problem. Now we see Paul, he makes this statement. What is his statement again? He's getting ready to get beaten. What does he say? I love Paul. I do. I love Paul. Very intelligent man. It's just sometimes he makes a statement. He's at this spiritual mindset, and then he goes, well, legally, why are you doing this? And so I want us to deal with, do we feel this is God, or is this just sometimes our flesh rises up? And I know we don't want to talk against Paul the Apostle, but he was a man. We all have our ups and our downs. So at this point, he's getting ready to get beaten. Do you think he's looking for a loophole? What's your thoughts? Brother Goins, what do you think?
I think, well, it's like you said, is he in the will of God? Because it's like with some of us, if we get in trouble overseas, the first thing we say is, I'm an American. And then that carries weight overseas. And so I think he's doing that now. He's saying, well, he's not speaking to him in the spirit or on the side of God, the mystery of God. I'm a Roman citizen,
Remember where we come from. He's made some decisions to do the sacrifice whole process. We question that, if Paul should have did that. Now we're at this point, we're kind of questioning. Now, he could have been in the will of God, but I do want us to be open because sometimes we get in tight spots. Sometimes we say things that we shouldn't have to say because we have gotten into a spot that we shouldn't be at. Maybe this is totally the will of God, but I do want to examine this. He does use a legal point, a loophole, to get him out of this situation. We've seen Paul over and over trust the Lord, and the Lord has provided. And I guess we could say, can God provide it through legal means? Yes, he can. But is this a good choice as we see this unfold?
I think he's in the will of God. I think that Paul follows God, God's been talking to him, Jesus has been talking to him. Nobody that we read about in the Bible is able to walk in the Spirit 100% of the time. And nobody is able to pray 100% of the time. When we're not walking, when we're not in the Spirit of God, we have to make decisions based on our best understanding of where we're at and follow the will of God. I think Paul is do that. I think that whenever he's walked in the Spirit and whatever Jesus told him to do, he's done it. He had to deviate to the left or right, told him not to suffer many things. Sometimes he's made decisions that obviously we know that they were decisions made in the flesh. But you have to sometimes, because none of us walk in the Spirit all the time. And I think that he's doing I don't think he's doing what's best for Paul. I think he's doing what's best for him to get to where he thinks Jesus wants him to get.
Okay, all right. So even in this pressure time, you know, we do deal with our flesh. And that's what I want us to see. Don't get so spiritual to think that you don't have flesh. All right? Don't ever think that you're so holy and sanctified that you can't fail, because that's when you think that you can't fall, that's when you're going to fall. Yes, ma'am.
This might be crazy, but, okay, when he said, he was telling him that he was a Roman, why didn't he, if he was sick, if he was doing in God's will or whatever, why didn't he tell him that he was sent by God instead of saying he was a Roman?
And that's what we're examining. Just trying to figure out. Brother Goins, go ahead and read that commentary, then we'll give a little more of some hands. We'll go from there.
When the commander saw them in their mad frenzy, he concluded that Paul must have been guilty of some very serious crime. Apparently, he could not understand Paul's message since it was given in Aramaic. So he determined to extract confession from the apostle by torture. He therefore ordered his prisoner to be brought into the barracks and bound with thongs in order to be scourged. As these preparations for the scourging were moving ahead deliberately, Paul quietly asked the centurion if it was legal to scourge a Roman citizen who was uncondemned. As a matter of fact, it was unlawful even to tie up a Roman citizen before he the scourging was a very serious offense.
Why did he just say, you know, I've been sent from God? One reason he did say that he said that through his testimony, in essence, that didn't work. Instead of quieting down, they got crazier. And what happens? What happens when you do the best you can do? You don't pray, you have a good church service, and you expect everything to go your way. Instead of it going your way, it gets worse. What do you do? And this is what's happening. It's degrading. He's giving his testimony of what Christ has done, and then the people go crazy. And of course, he is used to adversity, but I think in his mind, it's like, this is not supposed to turn out this way. So now he's getting ready to get beaten. He's been beaten. He knows what it is to be beaten. He's been left in the street for dead, all these things. He don't want to get beaten. Does anybody else want to get beaten? He don't want to be. And so I'm thinking, he's like, okay, I am a Roman citizen. This is illegal. Why are you doing this? Ms. Adrian.
That was something God had given him. He didn't make himself a Roman citizen. That's just the way it was. And God provided that. And if it was illegal to do that to a Roman citizen, why not tell him? Why not say, you know, this is against your own law? So God gave him that blessing. I mean, if somebody else wasn't a Roman citizen, God did not that person to be a Roman citizen.
All right. So he's using both sides. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I was thinking on behalf of what Paul had said, but Paul knew what he had done prior to and what scourging meant. And he knew exactly when he said what they were getting ready to do for him and bring him in. He knew for what of a beating he was getting ready to get and what he was going to get beat with. So he had to come up with something.
All right.
Yeah, because scourging is with the belt with yeah, that's supposed to be like that.
Okay.
You get out of it, you're gonna get out of it.
And then kick around. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, Paul was not telling a lie to get out of himself. He was telling the truth. He had been telling the truth all along. And so, for him to whisper to the guy, you know, I'm a Roman citizen, he might have been saving their lives because if they
found out that they, you was road citizens, that one of them was.
Good point, good point. Yes, sir.
Maybe it's both, Pastor, because when Calvin cited by what he's saying, he's speaking the truth, he's speaking the word. And when the authorities get involved, then he switches to legalism. So maybe it is both.
Okay, all right, both sides. Look at this next verse, I want to read, please.
When the centurion heard that, he went and told the commander, saying, take care of what you do, for this man is wrong.
All right, so legal terms are brought in. All right, the centurion's like, hold up. We need to stop our roll. Because this guy is a Roman, and it is illegal to even bind a Roman, let alone scourge a Roman. So we gotta, who have we got involved with? And that's basically what's coming up. Roman's like, who have we touched? You know, this guy, he's gotta be a criminal, but he's a Roman. How do we deal with this? Look at this next verse, 22 and 27. Someone read it. So we see the nth degree coming. We want to make sure that you weren't just lying to us. Are you truly a Roman? Yes, I am a Roman. Now notice how this conversation continues on. Someone read that next verse.
The commander answered, with a large sum, I obtained this citizenship. And Paul said, but I was born a citizen.
I love the way he said that. Yeah, that's good. Beyond the agenda.
I just had a question. Has Paul ever used Roman citizenship before? I mean, he's been using lots of times. Has he ever said, I'm Roman, and you should do this? And if he hasn't, why now and not before?
I don't remember. Anybody? Not that I remember. Good point. Good point. Just kind of went through the book of Acts and dealing with Paul. I don't think we've ever seen him make a stance like this to depend on his citizenship or his connection. And that's why I'm just concerned. We have had questions through this whole trip to Jerusalem and even now, but he does lean heavily now on his being a Roman. It's been a Christian. It's been, okay, I'll take a beating. You know, y'all can throw whatever you want to throw at me. But now in this specific instance, in Jerusalem, we see him really using this legal loophole, which I guess is not a legal loophole. It is true, to get out of this process that's happening. And then we're going to deal with that next piece. Go ahead, Dee.
I think it frees up the rock. The gospel of
So he is telling the truth, it's not a lie. But notice what the commander does. The commander has to fill this out. How much Roman are you? That's basically what the question is. How much American are you? How long you been that? Who do you know? That's basically, are you cousin to the president, or do you have any senators in your family? Have you just moved into America? So how much Roman are you? So look at this process. Because the commander answers, like, I'm a Roman too, but let me tell you how I did it. What does he say? He said, I had a whole bunch of money. I run Publishers Clearinghouse. And so that I could get these legal terms to protect me, I bought my citizenship. You know, that happens even in America. Really, I know of some people with a large sum of money, they were able to move through some processes a lot quicker just because they had money. He said, I bought, and then Paul the Apostle said what? I was born a citizen. That's big. You don't want to touch me. Roman blood runs in my veins. Yes, sir.
And by making that statement, he gained respect.
Okay, he did. He definitely did. Because he is a true Roman citizenship. Yes, sir.
I was going to say, do we not have almost some of the same thing going on today in today's society between the mix of different denominations that we in churches on different times that believe in Jesus in different ways? I have some cousins and relatives that was born like I was Baptist and their parents and all, but they've changed now to get over and other religion. And they won't come around. They won't, you know, and when you talk to them, they won't talk, you know, they talk off. And I have a cousin that we was pretty much about the same age, raised up together. He denies coming to any cookouts. Don't go to the funeral, no. So, you know, and so how you gonna deal with that?
Right. We do have a lot of levels that are going on with Paul the Apostle. We got the Jews, they cutting fools, they doing dirt, and ripping the clothes. You got the Romans who don't care anyway, except for, you know, are you a Roman or not? They're just kind of keep control. Then we got Paul, obviously loves the Lord, caught up in the third heavens. We know he's going to go through a lot of things, but yet he uses the fact that I'm a Roman. Look at this commentary. This brought the commander to Paul in a hurry. On inquiry, he learned that the apostle was indeed a Roman citizen. There were 3 ways to become a Roman in those days. First, citizenship was sometimes granted by imperial decree as a reward for services rendered, etc. Second, it was possible to become a Roman by birth. This was the case with Paul. He was born in Tarsus, a free city of the Roman Empire, and his father was a Roman citizen. Finally, it was possible to purchase citizenship, often at a very high price. Thus, the commander had obtained his citizenship by paying a large sum. So now Paul the Apostle, getting ready to get beaten, can't be beaten because he is a true Roman citizen. What do we do with him? The Jews want him what? They want him killed. They want to rip him limb from limb. Romans were just going to beat him and try to get the truth and quiet things down. Now nobody can really touch him. Romans can't touch him. They can't throw him back out there in the street because he's a Roman citizen. What do we do with Paul the Apostle? The comfort that I have in this whole scenario, God is still in charge. Amen. If he did make a mistake, guess what? God is still in charge. If he isn't in God's will, God is still in charge. Paul the Apostle still needs to get where God wants him to be at. And that is comforting. No matter what we go through in life, the Lord has his hand on us. And he wants us to get to that point in spite of ourselves. Thank God for his grace. Thank God for his mercy as we think about that. Look at this next part, 22 and 29. Did I get all in here? 22 and 29. Everything changed. At least with the Romans. Jews still doing their thing, but the Romans are like, oh my goodness, we bound him. He's born a Roman citizen. He was supposed to have a trial. This was not supposed to happen this way. And literally that commander becomes afraid of Paul the Apostle. Not because he's a Christian, but because of his citizenship. Now, that is a concerning process because some people, even now, as we're Christian, we don't stand on us being a Christian. We stand on who we are. Our degrees, where we work, where our house is, all these processes. So there are questions that come up, but they're afraid of Paul the Apostle simply because of his background. Now look at this next part. Someone read, please.
The next day, because he wanted to know for certain why he was accused by the Jews, he released him from his bond and commanded the chief priests and all the councils to appear and brought Paul down and set him before them.
All right. Commander's like, okay, we got to get to the bottom of this. So let's let everything quiet down. Let them finish their frenzies outside. Go through the night, get a good night's rest. We're going to take the bonds off of Paul the Apostle next morning, and we're going to have a trial. Or at least we're going to talk about this thing and find out if we can reconcile this and we can move on with our lives. Very important in that he released them from his bonds and commanded the chief priests and all their council to appear and brought Paul down and set him before them. No, I do find this very striking that in this whole situation, Paul the Apostle is very quiet. He even said he whispered, I'm a Roman citizen. Just very calm. And I find comfort in this because we do know that he is a man of God, that he does love the Lord, that in our pressured situations that we don't get caught up in all the ruckus. We gotta keep ourselves calm, and oftentimes we just got caught up. Pressure comes, circumstances, situations, we get swept with that circumstances and situations. Be careful. Sometimes people talk on your job and they're kind of all stressed out, and if you're not careful, you start to get stressed.
Amen.
You start complaining. You start feeling those same things. Even in family, in leadership sometimes. I'm having a bad day. Everybody in my house will have a bad day. I mean, I have to be very careful with that because I get stressed, and when my wife is looking all peaceful, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why you got so much peace? And then I'm like, well, we go change that. I'm sorry, pray for me. But it does. It does. Am I the only one that felt that? Yeah, all of us. This whole process. Misery loves what? Everybody else's house can't be happy. You sad. No, everybody can be sad, so we can be sad together. So this whole process, but Paul does not get caught up in this. Why? Why didn't he get caught up in it?
Christ.
The peace of God. Even if he's out of the will of God, he still knows God. That's right. And has a deep relationship that knows, God, you still in charge. And I think that's where we have to rest in our walk with the Lord. Lord, I don't understand this. And he has to be like, again, here we go again. I'm going to get beaten, hopefully not this whole process. I told him this, but I know his back is probably already aching. Here we go. Here we go. Lord, please not. But he stays quiet to hear the voice of the Lord. Yes, ma'am.
Trust. He trusted God. And I think that's really hard for our flesh. It's a learning process. I think the longer you walk with Christ, the longer you walk with the Lord, you learn to trust Him in all situations. It's hard. Because you want to reach out and choke somebody, you know? But
Trust is tough. Many of us in this situation, what we would have done? Crying, hollering. Well, my cousin's a lawyer, right? He's a Rosen. We would have been doing everything. Well, I need such and such to come. We've been trying to get out of it. But Paul, he does try in one sense, but we just don't hear a lot of pressure from him, a lot of peace. Yes, sir.
Paul just testified that if you go look at James, he testified before Felix, Festus, and King Agrippa. Those are some of the most compelling testimonies. It's hard to say he's out of the will of God. I mean, he's so strong going through. I mean, he just, we can walk in better. I could. I mean, there are things that I need to do that I'm just not strong enough to do. Because of where we at now and living and the things that we need to do, helping people, working and, taking the gospel to people. There are things that we need to do and we're not even on the road. Paul is in the middle of the road. It's hard to say he's out of the will of God. When we look at our lives where we at, look at where he's at, the things he's done, it's hard to say he's out of the will of God without saying that we.
Good point. And I think that's where our faith comes to this whole walk. Who in here is willing to go to jail just for your testimony? To be beaten just for your testimony. Not for something you did. Now, some of y'all need to be in this. Y'all done some stuff now, and you can argue about it, but you need to be in jail. If it all came out. But I'm telling you, just think you had done nothing wrong, and all because of your testimony in Christ, you were going to jail, possibly being beaten. That's a tough, innocent, totally innocent. There are I have a lot of people I talk in prison, and everybody innocent in prison. Everybody. Preacher, let me tell you. Really, everybody got a testimony of how innocent they are and everything. I'm like, okay, everybody can't be innocent here. But think about if you were truly innocent, and you were in that point all for Christ's sake. And that's very compelling. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody asked the question, had Paul been being a Roman soldier before? Yes, he had. Roman citizen before. Yes, he had, because when he was thrown in jail the night of the earthquake, he told them he was beat, and then he will say it again afterwards.
Paul is solid.
Yeah. And so he had mentioned that at least 3 times to is
Okay,
their choice.
all right, so that's been something in his pocket that he has used. Good point.
Because they
You
want
remember
him to
that.
leave silently.
He- Amen, that's good. Look at this Acts 23:1. I found this scripture very compelling also. So I'm gonna read it. This is good. And Dean Kelly, you bring out a point. How many of us can say that? Paul the Apostle says, I had peace. Even up to this point, and it really is tough because we see from where we're looking and the struggles that he's going through. But he said, I have a good conscience. What he's saying is, up until this point, I have no regrets. I haven't struggled on my decisions or anything, even where I am right now. And he caused them, look at this first part, he looked earnestly at the council. He eyed them up. He's not trying to get out anything at this point. He's straight up, I have a good conscience. And he calls them, this is interesting, men and brethren. Men and brethren. Jews, that's what he's calling his brother. But he's calling the men, the Romans that are around, all of them, I'm looking at you, I got a good conscience before God. Everything I've said has been right, I've been living right. And I wonder, do we have that testimony? That we have a good, if we were put on trial for our faith, we can say, I've been walking for the Lord with a good conscience. Or we say, Sundays I do pretty good, but other days. And this is where God wants us to get, that we truly have a conscience of peace. Look at this next part. Someone read.
The high priest Ananias commanded those who stood by him to strike him on the mouth.
You can read that commentary.
The high priest Ananias was infuriated by this statement. He doubtless looked at Paul as an apostate from the Jewish religion, a renegade, a turncoat. How could one who had turned from Judaism to Christianity claim such innocence? Accordingly, the high priest ordered that the prisoner be slapped on the mouth. This order was extremely unjust since the case had hardly gotten underway.
Most of us will have lost it. We just will have lost. I mean, think about it. You're earnestly, you're telling, I got good conscience. I love the Lord. Jesus has been so good to me. Peace. And then why are you saying your testimony? See, some of y'all get mad already. Like, no, he didn't. No, you just, all of that point, the flesh rises up. And this Paul is a real man. He just got slapped. Just slapped out of nowhere. Look at that. Ananias, the high priest, this is not the same Ananias that laid hands on. This is a different. The high priest commanded those by him, strike him on the mouth. Now, my mom is here. My mom hit me one time. It was my fault. Don't all nobody. Ain't nothing gonna happen. I remember I was talking back to her, and it was just one of them things. I just felt I was big enough and all of that stuff. She was laying on her bed, and when I talked back to her, all of a sudden her right hand came and said, "Pah!" And my lips swelled up like this. And I learned real quick. Mama got a quick right hand, so I don't want to do that no more. I did. She put me in a place. But just think, Paul the Apostle, this slap was a hard slap. Literally, he's bruising at this point. And he didn't mean any harm. He wasn't trying to be smart or anything. He was just trying to say, guys, I'm for real. And he gets slapped. See? Look at this next part. Flesh. Go ahead, Brother Preston.
I think before when he said up to this day, he must have knew that stuff was coming.
You think so?
I'm just telling you. That's what
But we see the reality of the scripture, right? How will we react? Somebody smack you in your mouth, you gonna say, hallelujah. Hit me again. That does the scripture say, right? Turn to somebody, turn the other cheek. Let's see what Paul does, all right? So I read that next verse. Say it. Come on, put some emotion in it.
For you sent to judge me according to the law, do you command me to instruct contrary to the law?
I love it. This is real. I would have had questions, really, if Paul would have said, hallelujah. Really, I would have questioned on the reality, the truth of this scripture. But notice here at this point, it is so real. Paul the apostle, the flesh does rise up. And don't fool yourself. Somebody slip a slap on you, flesh will rise up. But how in control is the spirit? He does. This is God will strike you, whitewash Paul. Very powerful. He's upset. Paul is upset. He's emotional at this point. He wasn't expecting this. Go ahead and read that commentary, please.
Paul snapped back to Ananias that God was striking for being such a whitewashed wall. Outwardly, the high priest seemed righteous and just. Inwardly, rough. Professing to judge others according to the law, here he commanded Paul to instruct contrary to the law.
You see this going back and forth? Law, legalism, Romans. Paul is caught up in a cycle at this point. So now he's talking to the priest. He just drew the Roman card with the Romans. Now he's using another legal term. How dare you strike me? You're a whitewashed. I hadn't done anything yet. But all of this emotion is rising up at this point. This pivotal scripture, this is what I really want you to meditate on as we get this last scripture today, 23 and 4. Someone read.
Those who stood by said, do you revile God's high priest?
He's just been slapped. He says something to the high priest, but now the people question, how dare you talk to the high priest? The high priest had a lot of authority. You just didn't scream at the high priest, even if they slapped you. The high priest could pretty much do what he wanted to do. But we're going to have to deal with some things. And I want you to study ahead because there seems to be a lapse in something. Paul has missed something. It seems to indicate in the next scripture that we're going to deal with on next time, Paul does not even know this guy he was talking to was the high priest, which is a concern. I'm like, what happened? What is Paul so emotionally stirred? I think he's in peace, but he's missing some pictures here, and we're going to have to deal with that on next time. So study ahead, read those scriptures in detail as we go forth, because we're going to kind of get in some things, and we got to go on a journey with Paul. Paul is going to have to go through some stuff, and we got to make sure that this is the Lord working, or how is he working, and how do we compare that to our lives? Amen? Any final comments, questions? Come on to your feet. Miss Adrian.
Like a high priest.
Good point. Keep that for next time, all right? Come on to your feet. Let's close out. I guess we can leave with, what are you acting like?